It's not about simplification this time, it's going from good to great, or actually creating a culture of continuous improvement within a less structure. I assume you're all somehow less practitioners somewhere, so you have some idea what less is about, so we're not going to explain that. We're going to see, okay, how do we create a culture of continuous improvement in this? If we say continuous improvement, that's pretty much like the Agile Manifesto is stating. We are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. Mind the word doing it, not discussing it, not analyzing it, doing it. So this is a crucial element in this thing. So if you say, yeah, but how do we do this now? If you see continuous improvement, there's one pattern or a kata that you should be familiar with and that we should take into account, and that's a Toyota improvement kata. I hope some of you or most of you are familiar with it. Very simple process or a very simple pattern with 4 steps basically, and then a routine to continuously keep going, of course. So it starts with this kind of direction or challenge or goal or big problem you want to solve. And if you understand what is the big problem we want to solve, what is the goal or the challenge that we have at hand, then we need to understand where are we at today? How do we do it today? So how does it look like today? And if we understand how it looks like today, then we can say, okay, you know what? In a short time frame, 1 sprint, 1 month or something like that, what would be a possible step forward? A small improvement on that problem, a small, impact on the goal we want to achieve. A small step, not a full analysis, not a full solution, which many always get trapped into. Just a small step forward. That's the only thing we want to design for. If we understand this is the small step forward, that's the moment when we can say, okay, which kind of experiments can we now initiate to actually get something moving or not moving? It's an experiment, you know? You only know if it's working or not working by doing it, not by analyzing or discussing it. So you start doing it. If it works, do more of it. If it doesn't work, do something else. And of course, if you want to do this continuously, if we get to the next target condition, we didn't have the solution or the big problem, or we didn't achieve our goal. So we need to have a routine because the next target condition becomes the current condition. Then we need to define, okay, another small step forward to hopefully at the end, over time, finally fix the problem or achieve a goal. The improvement kata well understood now by all of you? Yeah, so let's see. If we now say, okay, it's in a LeSS framework, then we need to put a LeSS picture out there, of course. There are a couple of things that help. If you say the lean improvement kata or the Toyota improvement kata, where can we put it in? You can put it in sprint planning and then the daily scrums. And look at it as like we are continuously improving on the execution of building stuff. So this is nice. It's a continuous improvement process, day in, day out. So if you look at the retrospectives there at the end, that's the only thing where lots of people assume this is where continuous improvement lives. It's just a small piece. If you look at the sprint review and then the product backlog refinement, those are actually routines to have continuous improvement within your product. So you could also apply the Toyota improvement kata. And it's not only that, this is the basic framework, but unless I think you all understand that we highly encourage for people to initiate or set up communities. Not communities of practice, that's an anti-pattern, just communities. If you have set up a community, it has its birth with a good problem or a goal you want to achieve, something larger, something that most probably be long-lasting as an improvement, which needs more people involved and all of that stuff. So those are all built-in systems or patterns or methods or events or timings in a LeSS framework you can use to apply the Toyota improvement kata. So let's zoom in a little bit. And I will try to go fast because this should be normal. And then I will give you something less normal. Now, product level improvements. So this review session, refinement session in this thing, I will stand next to the... Can I stand next to it or would it be annoying? Yeah? Okay, then I will stand. Is it okay if I stand next to it? The light is in my eyes and I want to see all of you, of course. And this is actually nicer to present. So product level improvements. If we say product level improvements, it's the review session, it's the refinement session. So if we then think like the Toyota improvement kata, we have some goal that we want to achieve. We have some big capability we want to build into our product. That's number 1. Then we need to do number 2. We need to see, okay, how is this being done today? How do people do it today? How is our competition solving that thing today? So we really need to make sure that we understand context, which is mainly forgotten. I see too many people going into refinement, immediately thinking about the new stuff, not even thinking of what do we have? How do people do it today? So this would be the first step to do. By the way, if I say a goal to achieve, you know, customers come with a solution. So I might imagine, you know what, you might live just outside Warsaw, and if you want to come inside Warsaw, you think like, yeah, this is slow by foot, so I need a car. So you come to me and you say, hey, Jurgen, I need a car. I don't stop there. Eh? This is not a goal, this is not something to achieve. It's like, okay, yeah, why do you need a car? And then you tell me, yeah, to go faster from the outside of Warsaw to the city center of Warsaw. Okay, cool. So you want to go faster from outside to inside. So then I look, how do you do it today? And you come back and you say, you know what, I walk. I really walk from outside Warsaw, outside the city center, until inside the old city center. This is quite slow, you know? We also look at the competition and we see public transport, but it's not that great. So yeah, we start to think like, okay, what would be our next target condition? So how can we help people go faster from outside Warsaw to inside Warsaw in a next sprint to come? Maybe 2 sprints, not the full solution. We just want to see what would be a small step that would already help them so that we get valid feedback or we approach it in the right direction. So we designed this using modeling techniques. You are all familiar with user story mapping, which is a modeling technique. I hope you're also okay with UML diagramming, which is also a modeling technique. I'm a fan of C4 modeling, for example, and impact mapping. So those are all modeling techniques we can use to see, okay, what would be the next target condition? And only if we understand this, at that moment in time, we're going to extract experiments. How can we now achieve this next target condition? Let's extract experiments, your product backlog items. We don't extract 1 million of them. We extract just enough for us to satisfy the upcoming sprint, and then we learn again. We get into a review session, we understand what worked, what didn't work. We have a new current condition, we keep on modeling on the same model. We extend it, expand it, we define our next target condition. We extract experiments, which we call product backlog items. So in a refinement session, and then we have a review again where we revisit completing. And off we go, always one step at a time. This is the thing on how we grow products instead of building products. So building products looks a bit like this. You come with the idea, I need a car. So, and that's great. We don't even analyze why you need a car, it's just like car, boom. So we just listen to what the customer asks, you know? That's customer-centric, isn't it? It's not, by the way, but anyhow. So they want a car. So we design the full car in our refinement. We design the wheels, the rims, the engine, the full thing. We design it. So we take a lot of time in doing the full design, of course. We cannot do that much anymore in sprint 1. So the first sprint review, what do? We show the wheels and the rims to the customer. The customer is going, I asked for a car. They cannot give you valid feedback as well because they cannot use anything. They cannot do anything with the wheels and the rims. They can tell you, yeah, you know, instead of black rims, I want to have gray rims. But that's about it. There's not much use. The next iteration, we add a chassis and an engine and a seat. And we go into sprint review. Here you go, dear customer. They can still not use it because, you know, it makes a lot of noise, but you cannot steer it, you cannot do anything. So yeah, the customer goes, yeah, nice, but I asked for a car. So the next iteration we get with the convertible. You know, if it's nice weather like today, some of the early innovators and fun guys and the rebels in the organization will start using it. That's the moment when we get valid feedback. Something we can actually do something with. So at the end we give a car. At that moment in time they are really happy. Now we have a real car, even if it's bad weather outside. So fantastic, thank you. And the first thing they're going to ask to you, why did you bother us in between? Why did we really need to come? Wouldn't you just call me when the car was finished? It would have been a lot easier. That's building a car. That's building a product, building a feature. We think immediately about the full spectrum and then the blocks. And then at the end we build the blocks together. It's like Lego blocks. Growing a product is not working or building with Lego. If we say growing a product, it looks more like this. So they ask a car. We ask, why do you need a car? Yeah, I'm outside Warsaw and I need to go faster into the city center of Warsaw. So that's why we ask a car. How do you do it today? It stopped there. This is, it's there. So how do you do today? We walk. Okay, cool. Public transport sucks big time, so not reliable. So this is a good opportunity for us to outcompete our competition. So we think about what would be the next best thing to help them go a bit faster. And we think about the skateboard, you know? A bit of wheels, you know, will most probably get them faster from A to B. So we come in the first review session and we say, you know what? We have a skateboard. You see a smiley. To be honest, most of them will not be smiling. So most of your customers will go, what the hell, I asked for a car. But there is this a couple of corporate rebels in your customer base, and they are going, oh, cool, a skateboard or a longboard. Let's try it out. So they take the skateboard or longboard, they try it out, and they start moving away, and off they go, like, great. So, and they come back and say, it goes faster than walking. It really goes faster than walking. But you know, look at my knees. It's not that stable. I fall down, and taking corners is difficult, and all that stuff. So we get valid feedback now. We are in the right direction, it gets faster, but there are some other problems. So what do we think? We think about, how can we solve this? We think like, you know what, taking corners, we need a steering wheel. And if you have a steering column, it's also more stable. So we start building this. We go to sprint review. We say, hey, here you go. We fixed your stability and made it easier to take corners. At that moment in time, a couple of other users that were inflicted by the corporate rebels before were like, yeah, let's try it out. I have more comfort in the stability, so let's go. So they take this kind of thing and they start to, and they take corners and do this. So they come back, yeah, this is actually a lot faster than just walking, you know? But you know, we always need to go like this. There's no rest time, it's very tiresome. It's actually more tiresome than walking. So that's a problem. So we think about, shit, how do we now make sure that they can rest a bit? So we investigate some things and we noticed if we have bigger wheels, then the gyroscopic effect stays longer and people can rest longer. So we put bigger wheels. So, but then we try it out within the sprint and it's like, yeah, we're still standing. That's still tiresome. So we need a seat. So we put a seat. And then we try it also in our sprint. So we try it ourselves. We have now bigger wheels and a seat. And we try to step with the seat. I can assure you, this doesn't work very well. So we're like, shit, this is not a solution. But we have a bright guy, a bright designer on our thing. He says, you know what? We can have a different kind of engine driving it forward. Let's put pedals there. So yeah, okay, we put pedals. We come in sprint review. We give a bicycle. I can assure you, the majority of your users know like, yeah, this I feel comfortable. It looks okay to go faster and things as well. We can rest. So let's try it out. So they really start using the bicycle to go from the outside Warsaw to the city center of Warsaw. And they come back while we were thinking about the next step towards the car. They actually call us and they say, Jürgen, you and your teams over there, you should stop thinking about the car. Because we went with a bicycle, and actually the bicycle is faster than any car will ever be to go from the outside from Warsaw to the city center. So it cannot be that big anymore, otherwise we cannot pass the other cars anymore. So you can still think about getting it faster, but it cannot get bigger. And that's like, okay guys, we need to redirect. We put an electric engine in there, we give it to the customers, they are going, yes, this is it. We avoided the customers unneeded features. We avoided a huge cost, and we avoided building the wrong thing. And we had a lot more valid feedback in our improvement kata. Always a step further, what is the problem? You get it? Growing products is a lot different than building products. The Toyota improvement kata is helping you to do so. So how does it look different in a backlog? Many people think that we need a backlog as a flat list of misery that we need to work on. So in my world, a product backlog looks a bit more like this. By the way, it's by intention that it's made unreadable. Those are, really backlogs from clients I have worked with and work with. So the people that are working on this thing will know, hey, this is mine. You will never know which company it is. So that's the idea. But you see, it's mind maps structures, it's diagrams over there. If you look at those things, it's rich data, colors, icons, images. So, for example, those tugboats means that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sprints ago that they started working on this. So yeah, you know, if it's one tugboat like over there, that's not a problem. If you start to have a fleet of tugboats, then yeah, they are not in the marine, you know. So they start paying attention, which is all great. So you see as well, it can go like 3 levels deep, 4 levels deep. Who cares, as long as it works for them. And we find some useful things to provide to the users and get valid feedback. Not like the rims. With just showing the rims for a car, you don't get valid feedback. We don't learn anything. We cannot improve on anything. So this is how backlogs look like in my environment. Then again, this is product level learning. Are you ready for the next one? Yeah. Okay, this sprint-based improvements, which is planning and daily scrum, so continuous improvement in this daily work we are doing. If you map this to the Toyota improvement kata, whenever you start with a sprint, if you now formalize it or not formalize it, you have some kind of goal in your mind, some kind of thing you want to achieve, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Some formalize it, some don't. I don't bother. A sprint goal, by the way, in LeSS is optional. So then again, it is there. So the first thing we are going to do in our Scrum board, our sprint backlog, is actually visualizing the current situation, the details. How does it look today? What is the thing looking like today that we need to change? If we have visualized this and we agree this is indeed the situation as it is today, then we are going to see, okay, what kind of changes are needed? What are the first changes we need to start doing in this model? So if we understand the first couple of changes in that model, we stop. We don't even plan or analyze or design the full sprint. It's like those are the first things. If we understand this, at that moment in time, we can extract experiments, which is called this sprint backlog tasks. Those are the things we want to do today. And only for today. And then the day after in the daily scrum, what do? We see, okay, is our next target condition, did it become the current situation, yes or no? What did we learn? What do we need to change? Then we add more design for the next couple of things to do. We extract experiments, we create tasks, and off we go. By the way, I have teams that do not create tasks whatsoever. They skip step 4. You don't need tasks to actually get something out of the door, which is surprising for many apparently. Now, this is how sprint backlogs look like in my world. So this is sprint 1 for a team. And you see during the daily scrum, they add more information, they add more details. They see, okay, what should we do next? And off they go. Bits by bits. By the end of the sprint, they ask always something useful. I don't say the full shabam, but it's always the next increment, the next valuable piece forward. You see as well, it's not a task board. Eh? If you look at the bottom part, it's really a design where people keep adding stuff. If you see here as well, they keep adding. If I ask you in this picture, where did they have problems? Where would it be? The fire, you don't need to look hard where to see problems, you know. If I see the fire popping up, what do I do as a team member? I'm attracted to it, you know. So the first thing you do is look at this thing. If you understand, Krzysiek is working on that. I go to Krzysiek and we collaborate. Imagine that. Also here, this is a nice one. You see, this is like 2 different solutions. There were 2 different ideas on solving something. One in Python and one in Java. They tried both. And they had some criteria where they put thumbs up or thumbs down. And then it's like, you know, we tried both. And then at the end, we are going to see which one is better and keep that one. Perfect. We are continuously improving. Not getting stuck with a predefined design. Good stuff. Whiteboards do actually wonders. This kind of, let's say, gentle term is workflow management tools don't. And with this I mean Jira, Azure DevOps, and all that other bullshit. So whiteboards do wonders. Stick it in your head. If you want to have a culture of continuous improvement, ditch all of that stuff and just use a simple whiteboard. Next, and the most common one known is retrospectives. I will not put that much effort in this one. So you all understand, in a retrospective, we want to improve on something, so we have a goal. You also need to see, okay, well, how is it looking like today? We need this kind of transparency on how is it today? How does it look? What do we have? And if we understand this, then we could say, okay, what would be the best next thing to do that would actually get us a bit closer to what we want to achieve, not the full solution. This is a trap. If people think about the full solution, it's done with continuous improvement. So we think just like, okay, what would we do in the next sprint? That would help us a bit. And where we can learn from. So we define this, we visualize this. If we have done this, then we can extract, and here you see sprint backlog items. So we extract items which we immediately put on our Scrum board. And those are the first things we're going to plan for in the next sprint. Stop, starting, start, finishing. Those are the first things to put in there. And then the next retrospective, we're going to validate. Did we achieve our next target condition? Did it become our current situation today? Or did something change? Do we need to change something in our direction? If it's still not solved, our problem, or we didn't achieve our goal, then we design, like, what would be the next step forward? And we keep going until we're satisfied with the goal or the problem we want to solve. We don't jump every retrospective from problem A to problem B to problem C, because if you do that, you never get into a situation of a culture of continuous improvement. We stick with it until we actually solved something. If you look at LeSS has these two options of retrospectives. You have this one there, team level sprint retrospective. Something that is in the sequence of your sprint. You know, you start sprint planning, daily scrum, then review, retro planning, and off you go again. That's the first one. Then you have also this overall retrospective, which is in the LeSS framework or recommendations. And this is generally happening a couple of days in the sprint. Could be half a day, a full day, 2 hours, depending on which kind of topic. So that's a nice thing to have. When I go into an organization, especially lately, then I do not set up an overall retrospective at the beginning. And I make a clear distinction. For me, the main purpose, the reason of being for the team level sprint retrospectives, as it's there, is for everything the team members and teams within the LeSS bubble in the organization can handle themselves. That's it. If it means that we need to have a retrospective with 5 teams together, then we do a team-level sprint retrospective, but with 5 teams together. And maybe there's 3 teams there and then 2 teams separate in their own environment. Whatever suits the needs. We want to continuously improve on the collaboration and figure things out. For me, the overall retrospective, I say this, the main purpose, the reason for being of that thing, is to handle challenges, problems, that go beyond this kind of LeSS bubble in our organization. That touches up on other departments, like financial controlling, like HR. That's where I like this one. It also means that most probably for the overall retrospective, we need to plan the topic we want to address a couple of sprints ahead. Because we need to lobby for mandate in the room. We need to lobby for the other skills in the room. If we want to address our performance management system, then we need a HR manager in the room who have mandate to try things, different things. We need skilled HR people in the room so that they can give us understanding what they need in this process. Then we need team members in the room, and then we can figure it out. If we don't have the mandate of those other skills in the room, then we should not tackle that topic because it's going to be a nagging hour. And within that retrospective, we use the Toyota improvement Kata again. Never the full solution, we try and experiment. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, also great. So, good? You're all good still? I know I go fast, but anyhow, this is normal stuff, at least in my world. Communities, so something that is not really in the process, but is highly recommended. For communities, it's the same thing again. Toyota improvement Kata. A community should be born, it's not a community of practice, out of a need. There is a big problem, there is a need, there's something going wrong that we need to tackle, and it's actually across a larger population than just a team. So we set up a community. And then we also set up most probably this kind of monthly community events where voluntary people that want to contribute in the community join. The first community event that you have, you're going to clearly identify what is our goal. And my recommendation as well is to say, okay, when did we achieve the goal? When did we fix the problem? When are we satisfied that this goal is achieved? So basically at the first community event, we're going to design when we're going to kill the community. So at its birth, you design its death, which is great. That is very much clarifying this, point 1. Now we're going to most probably spend a lot of time on point 2, the current situation again. We need to understand the context properly, because it's large. There will be lots of differences to take into account. If this is understood, then we can say, okay, by next month, What do we think we could do that we get valid feedback again and learning from it? We design all of that stuff. And then we say, you know what are the experiments we're going to initiate? And then we extract the experiments and we hang the experiment immediately on the sprint board, on the scrum board of the team. Imagine that. I'm the only one from my team. I go to a community. We do all of that stuff. And I say to those people, I will do 2 experiments. Yay! So I take those 2 experiments. I come to my team. Do you accept me as a team member here up front? Yeah? Okay. Okay. It's doubtful, but anyhow. I understand. I understand. So I go to my team. I take my 2 tickets. I hang them on my whiteboard. The next day I say, dear team, we need to do this. It's not my task anymore, it's a team task. It's a team-based organization, not an individual organization. From that moment on, it becomes our task to actually see how can we run that experiment. If we don't run it within the same sprint, it's going to be the first thing we plan for in the next sprint planning. Before taking anything else. Stop, starting, start, finishing. If we don't do this, there's no improvements going to happen. So it also means that we cannot have too many active communities up and running. If you have an organization with 6 teams and you have 20 communities up and running, then all the people will be busy with improvement actions and not create anything new from the product backlog. There's no new value being generated. And then people think, yeah, that's not a problem. It is a problem. Eh? If you don't add new value in your product, then most probably you will not acquire new customers, new revenue in your organization. If your organization is not getting new revenue in, then most probably it will have some effect on your paycheck. So you need to balance it out. Make sure you don't have too many communities up and running, so that you balance it out and can still add value as well next to this continuous improvement. Yes? Voila. If you say communities, then a nice example, they can be really, really powerful. If I look at a long-term customer, client of mine, Wysoft, then they go for completely managerless. So every team member is reporting to the CEO of the organization / founder of the organization, co-founder. So there's no management. And they said this, the R&D manager, Aleš, said, my job is done here. I feel that I don't contribute value enough. And I think I can use everything I learned here in another company and drive a lot more value there. So I'm going to leave the organization. And then the team members, together with the CEO, said, you know what? Instead of doing what every human does, if we remove a piece of a process or remove a person in a process, we have this ingrained urge that we need to replace it. So they didn't participate in that urge. They said, you know what? He's leaving, we're not going to replace. We're going to try without managers. If it works and we find ways, great. If it doesn't work, we can still hire one. This is the mindset that you should have in continuous improvement environment. So they tried without managers, and then, for example, here, a problem is there. How do we now promote people without managers? So yeah, they set up a community with volunteers, team members, with people from HR included, like, how are we going to do this? And they used this thing here. The less complete picture as inspiration. They said, in this promotion thing, what do we really value in there? What is the principle of actually doing this shit? So they figured this one out. And they say, you know what are the rules? What are the things we need to stick to? Legal stuff, for example, and other things maybe. So what do we need to stick to? This we cannot breach. And then within the community, they design a guideline. This is what we think might be useful with the past experiences and all the rest we know from our past. And then they encourage people to do experiments when this is happening. And with the experiments, they update the guides again until they are satisfied enough with this process and everybody is okay with it. And that's the moment when the community dies. This is the moment when Georgie here wrote this article on their internal blog. I encourage you to read it. Now you see, the LeSS framework, Toyota improvement, Kata, both together is actually creating quite a nice environment. You're all doing this, of course? Yes, of course. So now something different, something a little bit less. So a special kind of community. So something I've been experimenting with, I would say the last 6 years, 7 years, something like that, where I've noticed that a multiple of my ongoing clients at this moment in time and recent clients actually benefited from tremendously. So I want to share this with you. So don't try it at home. It's risky. So before I get there, I need to explain a little bit more. So most of the clients I work with, they hire me not because they are fantastic and good, no, because they are, the opposite. So they generally start with things like this. So huge hierarchies all over the place, silos all over the place, all of that stuff. So, and this is a situation where they know have been living in for decades, most probably. At least some of them, at least the old people. The young people, not. But so, if you were living in this kind of situation for a long time, and then you come and you say, yeah, let's do this LeSS thing, let's go Agile. It doesn't mean that this hierarchical behavior suddenly vaporizes and is gone out of the human beings. Hence, this kind of thing that you see in large corporate environments. They have scrum masters at the team level, and they all want to become an agile coach because they can work on the organization. And every agile coach these days wants to become a business coach on the business side of things. Hence, business agility movement the last 2 years. It doesn't make sense. This is, for me, what I call a brain fart, you know? Doesn't compute. Technical coaches wanting to become Scrum Masters 5 years ago, yes, but now they even don't want Agile anymore. So yeah, don't bother. So what did I try? I saw this behavior as well when I started a LeSS adoption or an Agile adoption. I said, we need to have one product owner. We need to have Scrum Masters. And I saw this hierarchical behavior popping up where they looked at the product owner as like, you are more than I am. They looked at the Scrum Master also like a bit more like they used to be team lead or anything else like that. So this behavior was still there, and I found this very troublesome. So I was thinking, I'm going to start a LeSS adoption, an Agile transformation, without any formal product owner or any formal Scrum Master. So I don't do this anymore, just like this. So what did I do instead? A special community. So I had a community of volunteers to clean up the mess the organization makes for itself. So, which is people across the hierarchy. So one of my clients have the CIO in there, they have the R&D manager in there, they have a couple of team leads in there, and they have about 5 or 6 team members in there. And within this group of community, we are going to actually do product ownership. We are going to do Scrum Mastering. And we're also going to do general management within that community. So this way, everybody understands what is happening. You know, people could try things out. Somebody could say, you know, let's try this Scrum Mastering and a bit more of the Scrum Mastering. And then I discover, fuck, this is annoying stuff. I don't want this anymore. And then you step out of the community because the community is voluntary based, transparent, open for everybody. It's like, yeah, I will become a team member. This community, have fun. I am a team member and I hear lots of things from that community. It's like, oh, I want to join that thing. So I join the community in their events because it's open and transparent anyhow. I start doing some of the Scrum Mastering activities. I find it very fun. So and maybe a year later, I do more of the Scrum Mastering than whatever I did before. And at that moment in time, most probably they will formalize. You are now the Scrum Master. The same with product ownership. People can try it out. If they are good in product ownership, they might keep going. If it feels like, shit, this is not working for me, they most probably will do something else. So it creates an opportunity in an environment of experimentation, which I like very much. If you assign a product owner and you assign it to the wrong person, you're stuck. If you have product ownership with a couple of people doing it all together, not as an individual, all together, you can swap things around, you can try things. A lot more natural. At this moment in time, we have a cross-functional team, basically, which we run as a community. A bit like a feature team in LeSS. They are cross-functional, they don't have titles, no roles, anything else. So everybody is equal. No roles in that community, no hierarchies, no reporting lines, nothing. Everybody is equal. By doing it like this, people can focus on the task at hand instead of who to report to or who to ask permission for. So everybody is equal. This is what you need to facilitate very strongly, by the way, in the beginning. So that everybody is seeing everybody as an equal in that thing. So we basically in this community, we create what I call students of the system. So how do we create students of the system? The Toyota improvement kata, of course. But this would be not good enough, in my opinion. So I got some juice in the lean world and looked at the OBEA. OBEA in the lean world stands for a large room, so a big room. Not a war room, because war room identifies stress. It's not about stress. An OBEA is a place, a big room, where the team can come together, where everything that is necessary is visible to them to quickly make decisions and identify problems. Which is perfect. This is what we want to do with the community, to transfer, to try things out. We want to see where are we at, how do we collaborate, how do we focus together on certain things, and if problems occur, we want to act on them very quickly. We want to quickly make decisions and solve problems. So perfect situation. So I tried many things and it didn't work very well. I'm honest, so it's an experiment, you know, you learn. So it didn't work, but you learn. So at a certain moment in time, I met Tim Wiegel, a friend of mine these days. And he has this nice thing here, leading with OBEA. Yet another framework, by the way. So he calls it not a framework, he calls it a reference model. Anyhow, so if you look at this, it gives some guidance on what do you visualize on this kind of OBEA. What kind of principles would be suited in this kind of OBEA. And what I love the most, this open door there in the center, a rhythm and a routine. So we have this routine. And with the visualization, we can visualize the Toyota improvement kata. You know, you see here, for example, drive performance, deliver value, and things like that. So if we look at the lean improvement kata or Toyota improvement kata, you know, we need to have, he says, we need to have a purpose and strategic capabilities we want to grow in the organization. We want to actively work on. So this is a kind of layered challenge from a Toyota kata perspective. Now we need to see, okay, what is the current condition? In this situation, what we do with the OBEA, we try to come up with some kind of trend metrics. So we see, okay, what kind of trend metrics would show us that we approach this kind of purpose capability here. So we start measuring it. And if we understand the current condition, then we can say, you know what, in 3 months, we think we can reach this stage here. And now we can have a threshold. So now we have a threshold, and we understand the current condition, we set a target condition, and now we can see, okay, what kind of actions as a community are we going to initiate and work on? And now we have routines. We need routines to actually make sure that we come always back to it. So this is how we start to implement it. Of course, leading with OBEA is what I would call a very prescriptive recommendation. So what I do, just like many others do with SAFE, by the way, it's also very descriptive. You have no experience, so you don't know what do I need to do to make it work, what can I leave out to make it work, you don't know. So what do? You do everything. So this is one of my first implementations. This is really the full shabam. And it worked, many things worked, really, many things worked. I was like, damn, this is great stuff. But over time, and this is where experience gets in, over time we start to understand shit. It's like a bit too much. Just like 90% of SAFE is too much. So I need to strip it. I need to strip it to the absolute minimum. So fast forward to things today. Things today looks a bit more like this. So it looks a bit different. There's also a couple of other things which are more related to product ownership and Scrum Mastering in this context. So let me guide you through it for a while. By the way, also here there's lots of things being hidden and blurred and all that stuff because yeah, it's a real thing. People that work on this thing will understand, hey, this is mine. You don't have a clue which company it is about, which is cool. First things first. So what is on this left side is actually a one slide, one PowerPoint slide, which we created an image from. We put this on a Miro board so that everything we do is still connected to the company vision and the company values. That we don't go completely somewhere else. So that's step one. Step two that comes in is that we need to have the purpose. Because now it's a community to clean up the mess that the organization makes for itself. So we need a purpose for change. So in this case here, it's help the organization generate more value more often. I love it. It's like a never-ending goal, perfection goal. So, but if they say value to me, then the first question they get is like, what is value? This is too easily pronounced. Eh? Let's generate value. And then if you say, what is value? Ooh, that's where the grain masses start to grind. So those are the green stickies, by the way. So this is very long one, a very good one in my opinion. It could also be that people come with this thing. So we want to minimize coordination costs, minimize lead time, maximize the image of the department in the organization. So employee motivation, also good, you know? As long as we don't put 20 things out there, I'm okay. So, and as long as the community thinks, this is driving me forward, this is making my heart and my blood pump, then that's okay. So this is important. If we understand this is the purpose, then we're going to examine, analyze, assess the current situation, and then most probably define what is called strategic capabilities or capabilities. At the beginning of a LeSS adoption, then this one will most probably get there. We want to have one unified product backlog and not 50 others. So increased cross-team collaboration on outcomes, not output, by the way, which is also. So this is generally something that is easily put up there if you do a LeSS transformation or with people that actually understand product development. That's where LeSS will automatically kicks in. Anyhow, so in the text is there to make it contexts, to describe the context where we're at and what is really needed. So we narrow down the focus on a certain aspect of this one unified backlog or cross-team collaboration. So it helps. These kind of capabilities will change over time, by the way. So other things that I see popping up is things like on the left side, things that are more related to the technical quality of your products. This might come later. There are things like here on the right side, things that will help us collaborate with the end users and the real stakeholders more effectively. So those are things that are also popping up, but not necessarily at the start. So things are changing along the time. If we want to tackle everything at the same time, we're not driving improvement. We just keep ourselves busy. So this is helping us as well within the community to make sure we focus on a couple of things and make sure we drive impact month after month after month, instead of keeping ourselves busy. This is what we see with lots of Scrum Masters in organizations as well. Every Scrum Master has their own team, they're extremely busy, but there's no focus. This one is working on this one is working on that, there is another one working on something completely different. So there's all small improvements happening, but not anything significant. By making sure we all focus on something significant, we make sure we drive impact, change forward. Anyhow, so this is the goals. You know, what I said, purpose, those capabilities, this is step 1 of the Toyota improvement Kata. For step 2, we define some kind of trend information to see, okay, how good or bad are we moving ahead at this moment in time. Those two are related to the one unified backlog, by the way. So the top one is to see, okay, how healthy do we keep that backlog? In the beginning, when you start with a new backlog, it's unhealthy, and then you see it starts to stable out. This kind of bumps here or dumps here show that we need to have a look at it. It's not that it's bad. It will turn red, by the way, but red doesn't mean bad. It just means like, hey, maybe it's a good idea as a community to review what is happening, your current situation, and see if we need to do something about it, yes or no. So that's it. Like this one is red, for example, and it's something related to the predictability. At the beginning, when you design that product backlog, goes all over the place, then they get something into a good situation, I would say, with a total change which is less than 30%, sprint after sprint. They do this about 5 sprints, and then you see it's going all over the place again. So, which is okay, by the way. So it signifies, yeah, we are beyond the 30%, so what is happening? Which is good. Maybe we have a weak vision strategy. Maybe we are betting on the wrong outcomes. So what is happening? What can we learn from it? It's not that it's bad. By the way, the optimization goal of agility, of LeSS, is not getting into a predictable situation. I hope you understand that. It's to be adaptable, being able to change. So it's okay that this thing goes all over the place, but we need to understand why. It's never the goal to get into a predictable state. Other things that are popping up in this kind of boards is like here on the top, things that are related to speed or lowering your transaction costs if you're a manager. So, or at the bottom, refinement quality, review attendance. So how good or bad are we now at collaborating with our end users, with the real people that are impacted with what we do? And of course, this will always come back some kind of multi-layered metric, which is going to show us the technical quality of our product so that we can improve. So these are all some examples that will help us to see, okay, how are we doing at this moment in time? We set routines on this part, so now we have 1, 2, 3. So we have the goal, we have the current situation, we have a target set. On this, we have a routine. This routine is called the derived performance routine. Imagine that. So the goal here is clearly stated. Check whether we are achieving the desired levels of performance. We establish new levels if needed, identify potential problems to solve, and adjust our plan of attack where needed. There is an agreement. If we start discussing about content on that board, we don't discuss for more than 5 minutes, and we really stick to it. It teaches people to communicate the most important things first instead of blah, 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 blah. In the beginning, this is very annoying for people. Over time, they get used to it. That's why it's called a routine. If you want to change your morning routine, what do you need to do? You need to hang a sticky on your mirror. Because otherwise, automatically, you keep doing the things you did the day before. So you see the sticky, oh, I need to do something different. And if you immediately remove the sticker, then the day after, you will repeat the same things, not with the new routine as you did before. So we really describe it so that we stick to it. So first per capability we are going to see, okay, what trend information has a red border. So, and then we see how come, we analyze a little bit. And then we see, okay, what kind of action do we need to do? Do we need to remove something we think we should do? Should we add a new action in our plan of attack to get it back on track? Is it normal? Whatever. So if we have tackled the red one and we have some idea what is happening or how we're going to deal with it, then we can share some other relevant context within that capability and then move to the next. So at the end we do this kind of thing. Like, if there is follow-up discussions needed, then we schedule those in that session. We see if the actions and decisions that were made are well captured on that board because it needs to be visualized in that thing. Then we see, okay, do we need to communicate something outside this community? To management, left, right, bottom up, it doesn't matter. So if we need to communicate, who is going to communicate and what? And then we do this kind of small retrospective. So did we really follow our routine? Did we find it effective? Is there something we want to try next time? And then we might adjust it. Also there, we're going to continuously improve. If we want to adjust, we hang a sticky. Then we try the sticky the next time. And we try again the sticky. We try again the sticky. If it seems to be a very good thing, then we update our routine. And off we go. So this way we can see, okay, are we now really, our activities that we do as a community, do they really drive impact forward, or are we just keeping ourselves busy? This is basically the idea. It might also be that some metric is red, and that we're like, yeah, we set a target condition, but maybe we overestimated our capabilities. It's way too high. So it also might be in this thing that you decide as a community, you know what, we're going to lower our expectations. Also okay. It might also be that you say, you know, those trend metrics here, they have been green for 6 months. It's irrelevant, so we ditch that metric. And we find another focus point within that capability that we want to focus on, and we find a new metric we want to start measuring to see what is the current situation, and eventually set a target condition. It might be that all the metrics are green and that we think this capability is good enough, like this one unified backlog. It's working for us at this moment in time. So we don't need to work on that capability anymore, so we throw the capability away. So this is all happening in this thing. This is kind of a 1 hour and a half meeting, and in their case, they have a 2-week sprint, and they do this after sprint planning. So after sprint planning, an hour and a half, they see, okay, what are we doing? Why after sprint planning is very normal. The teams are also doing retrospectives. So we try to make sure that teams are doing retrospective in the same direction as we have focus. This way we really improve on stuff. And if you really improve on stuff, then people get energized. They want to continue improving it. If everybody is doing separate things, they do small things, you don't get this energy. So which is very relevant. So you see my name is there as well in the brackets, the others are gone. The brackets means that I'm not a core member of the community. I go in and out. Core members don't have this thing. Core members stay for a long time, and then you always have people joining in and going out depending on what is happening. I can assure you when you start this community at the beginning, you get a hell of a lot of people there just because of curiosity. Not because they really want to be there, but they're curious what is happening there. Over time, this self-regulates. So what is next to it is the experiment. Step 4 of our Toyota improvement kata. Step 4 in Toyota improvement kata, they call this deliver value in leading with Obeya. So there we put the actions that we say we're going to collaborate on. The things that we want to do. This is a very simple Kanban board. So on the left side, we have done. Most people put done on the right side, we put done on the left side. Why? Because we want to get done. We don't want to start, so we want to start with done. Stop starting, start finishing. Not only that, if the thing's getting done, we put them here and we immediately see on the metrics what's the effect. We don't need to scroll or anything else. It makes life easier to learn and improve. So next to done, we have the ongoing, where we tend to collaborate on getting stuff up and running, moving ahead. Then we have a column next, which we as a community agreed, these are the best next things to do for us. You know, small steps. And then we have a column which we call future. Those are all the ideas that as a community we think it can still help us to grow that capability, but we're not going to engage in right now. And if tomorrow I have a bright idea, I can put it in the future state. And then the next routine that we have on this thing, then I can say, hey, I had this new idea. If people think it's bullshit, Jurgen, then we delete it. If I think, it might still help, we keep it there. So this way we can have good collaboration ongoing on this thing. So sometimes people come like, yeah, we should do this, and it doesn't make sense. So at a certain moment in time here, you see systems models. For people that did a CLP will understand this. We have system models because a person came, for example, and said, we need an extra role and a process step to do the refinements. So adding process and adding roles, that's not less alike. Eh? So it's like, we should not do this. So let's explore why you think we need this. So we explore this with the system model. You know, we create students of the system. And instead of creating more roles, they just came up like here, we are going to make sure that we have more different team members joining in and preparing a bit on the refinement. And we need to make sure here that within a single refinement breakout session, that we also have more people from different teams included. So this is what we need to encourage, instead of roles and process. So yeah, which is great. This goes onto the board and off we go. This is this bottom part is the fun part, by the way. So this is the red. You see, it's a red box at the bottom. A red capability. The red capability stands for the other stuff. Just this, other stuff. Things that, as a community, they start working on, which are not connected to any of the capabilities. And I, on purpose, put this one here in the slide deck. You see, there's lots of things in the other stuff. And there's not that much on the top row. This shows us that the top capability most probably is good enough. And then all the items that are going on at this bottom row, we start to look for patterns. And with those patterns, with the insights of the current situation, we can see, okay, what's the next capability we need to start working on? We throw one away, we create a new one, voila, now we don't have all that activity anymore in the bottom row. And then we can continuously improve again. Also on this part, we deliver a value routine. Here the goal is by visualizing, sharing context regarding our strategic plans and the work we do, we agree, align on the best way forward. We expose potential problems so we can tackle them, and this is important, together, not as individuals. So also here 5 minutes, then we see, first we go and see, okay, what are the problems? Somebody might have issues with something, so we first do this, make sure we help each other, remove obstacles, make sure we go ahead. If we have done this, then per capability we're going to see, is there some relevant context to share in this thing? What would be the next best thing to do? So we really look at the next best thing, is this still the best thing that we can do, or should we do something else? Some of the next might go into the future, one for the future might go into the next. There might be things in the future we completely delete, we learn this is bullshit, let's not do this anymore. So we align on those things and see how we can move. Also here we close it down. So this is happening here, you see, the weeks without sprint planning. The same day, the same hours as the previous routine. So also the same 1 hour and a half as the previous routine. So that same day, one time it's the drive performance, the other time it's this deliver value. So yeah, here you have it, the Toyota improvement Kata and an OBA board. There is always surprises. It's not because you have a structure and governance that everything goes smooth, so there are always surprises. For that we have an inbox. And in the inbox we have templates for problems and requests. Those problems and requests can come from anywhere. So they could come from anywhere. So most of those problems and requests will fit some of the capabilities. Why? Because that's where change is happening. If there's many of those problems and requests creating this bottom line stuff, which in this case was the case, then it means we are not focusing on the right capabilities. Then we need to revisit this. Also there we have a routine, which is held a lot more frequently. We act and respond on new problems and requests, voila. We first go through our inbox to address those things. If we have done the inbox, we see, okay, for the things that are done, there's something we need to share with each other. Then we see, okay, on the ongoing items, do we actually perform them, or are they staying there for a long time? How can we help each other? And then in a LeSS environment, we're going to see in the agenda is the 2-week iteration agenda with recurrent Scrum Mastering activities and recurrent product ownership activities. And then we also look like, how can we do this together to move forward? We share some relevant context, we close it down, and off we go. By the way, this is removing all the emails and phone calls and text messages. If you still have too many emails, text messages, you don't do them frequently enough. If you're in this meeting and it's like you always have a lot of time over to share relevant context, then maybe you do them too frequently enough. So this should remove everything. With those 3 routines, by the way, we notice in the organizations that most of the management meetings disappear. Almost all of them disappear because it's happening here. And it's a lot more fun to do this as a collective than as an individual. So here you see the agenda at the bottom, the 2-week recurrent activities. On the left side, you see an estimation matrix, a communication template, and a stakeholder map. This is product ownership. Imagine that my teams are not estimating the product owner, well, actually this community is. But that's for another talk. You don't need this. Anyhow, at the bottom there is also templates for the multi-team sprint planning, review, and all that stuff. You see there's lots of description there. I will zoom in a bit. So it looks like this. So sprint review, planning, and backlog refinement. This is the dream scenario. Within the community, we create a dream scenario. If we do it like this would be perfect, amazing. This would be crazy. So, of course, you don't do it like this. Not from day one. This is impossible. If they do it like this, it will be, this is the full solution. Maybe it doesn't make sense. But what do? You see the green things. Those are the things they experimented with and became a habit. The purple things are the things they are currently experimenting with. To see, okay, does it work, not work for us? And this will drive how their real routines are. Also, those routines for sprint planning, sprint review, sprint refinement are written down. Because if we write them down, we can repeatedly do the same thing. If we say we want to improve something, we have an idea, we put it on there. We can test it out. Now we know this idea is working or not. If you don't write it down and you just do whatever you like to do, then how do you know something is actually helpful or not helpful? You don't. So in that context, continuous improvement like structure. So not only that, in refinements, for example, if you have been experimenting with different techniques for a year or 2 years, then you also want to start consolidating to a couple of techniques you repetitively start using. It's like going to the gym. If you go once, you get a bit of muscle, but you won't get strong. So you need to do repetitively the same thing. That's the moment when you get better and better and better at it. So at a certain moment in time, you need to consolidate. In their case, intake, not that much. After intake, they do simplified scenario mapping, use case modeling. From there, they extract what assumptions did we had in this model. And now we can extract items, and then we can continue. So, fun stuff. This is different, yet similar. I'm almost there, by the way. Different, yet similar. You see at the center here, the same thing, eh? The same OBEA structure, the same repetitive tasks for the Scrum Mastering, product ownership, management. A similar ideation on what would for them be perfect. They also have workshops if things are going wrong to see. What is very different is this. Everything started with a huge, significant systems model, where we had a lot more people than what stayed in the community, by the way, available. And here you see we have an arrow here to this OBEA, but actually it was not this one, it was this one. This one says Kaikaku event. If you do not understand what a Kaikaku event is, go to YouTube. It's somewhere on YouTube. Anyhow, Kaikaku event. The Kaikaku event is the challenge, numero uno in the Toyota improvement kata. We see, okay, we analyze further the current context, which is on the left column, this blue box on the left. And then we start designing all the rest of the thing, next step forward. We also have a communication plan, and mainly 3 people there are driving this thing forward. But we also have the routines. Same thing, Toyota improvement kata. So, which is there. Here is the YouTube thing. Anyhow. You see, Toyota improvement kata, very powerful pattern, I would say. If you think about it in all the other events. Underlying those things, it can really create a culture of continuous improvement. For me, the Toyota improvement kata is the one pattern to rule them all. And now, are you ready for a pro tip? Do you want to become real professionals? So, even if you do this, it's not good enough. You will need to add learning events. My customers, especially my recent customers, they all have this kind of IKT event, so this internal knowledge transfer event. It's a 1 or 2 hour, like for one of my customers, they do this every Friday, 1 or 2 hours, where people at sprint planning design, this we want to share with each other. People think we need chapters, we need all of that communities of practice so that people can learn from each other. No, no, no. Everybody needs to learn from everybody. We don't box it in a function. So we have internal knowledge transfer where people can share some stuff. Every X sprints. So one of my clients does this. Every 3 sprints, they have a learning kata of half a day, full day, where they try out mob programming, test-driven development, dealing with legacy code, refinement practices, architectural practices, anything. So where they just try it out to also then use it in real life. They have active book reading clubs with weekly gatherings, which is fun. And now recently one started as well. We have 2 times or 3 times a year a hackathon. 2 days where people can just hack things together. And this helps for the internal improvements, but I can assure you these days, the recent hackathons, everybody came with some solutions for the customers with ChatGPT. For some reason. So yeah, also for customers it's good. So yeah, learning drives improvement. And with this, thank you, I need to shut up.
Yeah, thanks, Jurgen. It was really nice. My cognitive load is like 90% already after 1 hour. Means that my cognitive load is 90%. So, from my perspective, you're hashtagging yourself as simplification officer.
Yeah.
And there was a moment with these routines, with the green and red, what they are using, etc. It was turbo complicated from the external perspective. What do you say about it? Isn't it too much complicated?
I don't know. These things, the 3 routines and this visualization.
The visualization, number of information there, you know?
You're working on day to day, you're working on this thing, cross the hierarchy with a core team member, so it's not that complicated. If you're day to day working, it's like your scrum board in a team. You have seen the feature teams, you have seen the whiteboards of a team, there's also lots of information. So this is the same thing, but it's for everything that's surrounding the teams. But really everything, management, product ownership, scrum mastering. So you don't need anything else anymore.
Yeah, okay, sure. This was my impression. So it's
no, true. From if you look at this initially, it's like, whoa, what the fuck? But you build this up slowly together with the people. So and because you build it up together with the people, just like a scrum board is being built by the people, so they understand what is there, why is there. Things are being removed in the routines. Lots of things are being removed. We think this is interesting, and then a routine, actually, it's not. So at the beginning, you have a lot more information than what you see there, by the way, because everybody has way too many ideas.
Okay, thanks.
I have one more question. Before you go to Kaikaku, you need to somehow, train the company on the learning. So how do you starting? Where is the point when you are starting learning Kata with the company? Not to scare them because it's, oh my God, and to see and the results.
It's all learning by doing.
Okay. But starting from the team or from the top or all the cross?
Across.
That's
why I said here we have CIO, the managers, directors, team leads, team members all together. But then you treat them as equals in the community. This is very important. Everybody's equal.
Okay. Thanks.
If you want more about this and the simplicity of it, those people will go to the LeSS conference. Those employees and show their own environments in more details than I can do, most probably.
In Berlin.
Yes.
In September?
Yes.
Am I right? Okay, so LeSS conference in Berlin in September. And right now, thank you for Jürgen.